Recently, there's been a lot of controversy around companies like Nintendo sending DMCA copyright claims or cease and desist letters to the creators of games that use their assets and IPs, commonly referred to as fan games. Please understand, this behavior is nothing new. Fan games have been around ever since the dawn of the internet and the rising popularity of titles like Mario and Sonic. It's no surprise that these franchises have had a tremendous impact on the industry, but they've also had quite a large impact on those who have been inspired to make Marios and Sonics of their own. One of the most common forms of these projects are ROM hacks that generally aim to add new things to existing products, which you can find an assortment of during the annual Sonic Hacking Contest. Sega is among the most lenient of companies when it comes to these sort of things. This particular Sonic ROM hack event has been going on since 2013, and from what I've researched, Sega has not once sent them letters to stop the event since it was infringing on their copyright. You might even think these fan-made hacks are limited to just the classic Sonic titles, but there are even hacks for the more modern Sonic installments, not to mention the abundance of mods that exist for Sonic Generations and now Lost World through their PC releases. Once again, Sega doesn't seem to care about these alterations to their games. In fact, they seem to have embraced it. At their 25th anniversary Sonic Party, they confirmed that Chris Whitehead and Simon Tomley would be working on the new classic-style Sonic Mania. What's fascinating and cool about that is both of those gentlemen had previously been involved in making Sonic ROM hacks for the community to play. So, as opposed to shutting down their works of love, Sega instead hired them to work on ports and now a new official Sonic game. When you compare this reaction to fan projects to a company like Nintendo, you see just how unnecessarily hostile Nintendo is to the fans who make their own inspired projects. One of the best examples of this is the Another Metroid 2 remake. AM2R was recently released by a man named Dr. M64 after roughly 10 years of development. He and his team sought to remake Metroid 2 as the game itself is pretty dated, and Nintendo didn't seem to have any interest in remaking it themselves. This was a fan-made endeavor, and one that was purely out of love for the original and wanting to improve it. Nowhere in this process did Dr. M64 or his team strive to turn a profit off of Nintendo's IP, which made it relatively harmless. One could argue someone could opt to play the remake over spending the money for the original on the Virtual Console, but let's be honest. I'm sure Nintendo isn't losing any money if that's even the case. The cost of emulation on the 3DS is not officially available, but from what 3DS hackers have been able to do with giving people access to emulation there, I would assume that it isn't very expensive. Again, I doubt this one Metroid 2 remake would deter people from purchasing it, especially when there are other means to get the original as well. Still, this logic didn't stop them from promptly taking down Dr. M64's download links. And I know what you're going to say, Mr. or Miss Nintendo never does anything wrong. Nintendo is in the legal right for taking down things that infringe on their copyright. I mean, yes, of course they are. But before we delve into this legal debate, it's important to know the distinction between a trademark and a copyright, where I'll be using my good pal Exo Paradigm Gamer as a source, as he wrote a nice essay about the subject. Copyrights cover artistic works like video games, movies, and music such as Gives You Hell by the All-American Rejects, while trademarks cover names, logos, or slogans that help identify a company like the Snack That Smiles Back, Pornhub. Often when people discuss this topic, they don't understand the difference between the two terms and use them interchangeably, which perpetuates a common myth that not protecting one's copyright can cause them to lose it. See, trademarks do have to be regularly enforced or the user can lose their right to them. As a bit of a short history lesson, this doctrine was established by the Supreme Court opinions of Abraham versus Alpha Chi Omega in 2013 that ruled since a group of Greek organizations had failed to enforce their trademark for decades, they were not entitled to legal relief when a paddle manufacturer had used their logos commercially. Copyrights do not work in this way. They don't expire if not enforced, as opposed to trademarks, which some Nintendo fans claim as a way to defend the company taking down fan projects. Once an artistic work is produced in some tangible medium, like online or in print, or registered through the US Copyright Office, the maker owns the rights to that piece of media. Copyrights can expire over time, and if you fail to renew them, then the work does become public domain. This is relevant in the discussion of whether or not Nintendo was legally right to take down AM2R because Metroid 2 is a video game. Shocking, I know. Because Metroid 2 is a video game and not a logo, slogan, jingle, or company name, it's protected by copyright, not by a trademark. That means Nintendo does not need to take down every single Metroid-esque fan game for fear of losing their rights to Metroid. One could make the argument that the brand or name of Metroid could trigger this trademark fear, but Nintendo has made it clear in interviews about their DMCA of the download links that this claim was over the use of the Metroid intellectual property, not the trademark. However, that doesn't mean Nintendo was legally wrong for taking down the download links to AM2R. Metroid is still protected under copyright, and technically, AM2R violates this copyright. You could make the case that AM2R can be protected under fair use since the remake was made for the purpose of transforming the original content in order to improve it and put a different spin on it, but that particular doctrine in and of itself is limited and hard to debate. Even though Nintendo is in the legal right here, it's still not ethically right in my opinion. Nintendo could have very well left AM2R alone and not done anything about it. This is what Sega does when people make fan games, as they don't need to regularly enforce their copyright. But as we all know, Nintendo is very protective of their copyrighted IPs, right? Well, not all the time. There are thousands of fan games that still remain up and operational that do use their copyrighted materials, like Super Smash Flash, Super Mario X, and so on. I think my pal EXO said it best when he said Nintendo still lives in this bubble where the internet just doesn't exist and companies are more open about their use of copyright. They're so unnecessarily overprotective of their IPs that they don't seem to care that many fan games are just made out of love for the original source. The people that make these works are fans of your product. I know it seems absurd to limit your use of the DMCA as it's your favorite thing next to copyright claiming YouTubers for playing or reviewing sometimes your games out of passion of their product. It's like you don't even care about your fans or something. You do not lose much from people making these fan games, especially since emulation is so easy and cheap. I just don't understand this level of close-mindedness. Furthermore, I don't understand the people that are defending these actions as though Nintendo is their best friend. They aren't, and will never be your friend. They are a company in a capitalist economy. They do not care about you as an individual. You are a number in the crowd, a dollar sign, as you are to every single company. The game developers might care about you, but the executives sure as hell do not. It'd be cool if people would stop identifying themselves as Nintendo fanboys and learn to be an individual that can like something a company produces while still being able to view it critically. But that's a topic for another day. As always, if you disagree or agree with me, let me know in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching and take care. Have a wonderful day and goodbye.